Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to yet another Telecom Wise Guy event from your friends here at Commio. I'm excited, as always, to be joined by Katie Reddick, who's our Director of Customer Success. Katie, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you today?
Doing great. Q1 rolling through. Hard to believe it's February,
Yeah,
and I know you've been busy. We've all been busy, right?
we
So
have. We have.
thank thanks for taking the time.
Oh, yeah.
I was going to start, by the way, I love the topic we're going to talk about today, which is it's amazing how much of our day we spend talking about phone numbers, right?
No kidding. Right.
And growing up, phone numbers were pretty simple. I still remember my childhood phone number. I think most of us do, but I think it's not too far of a leap to say I know that you and your team, you're handling tens of thousands, some days hundreds of thousands of phone numbers on the same day, right? It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is. There's obviously a lot that goes into it. So a lot of numbers going back and forth and features being updated on the daily.
Exactly. Well, Katie, let's go ahead and jump right in because I know we've got a couple of things we wanted to talk about today about numbers. And right away, it's all about, how many numbers does your company have? And sort of this whole idea that juggling numbers is something that we all have to do now every day, in a lot of our businesses, right?
Yep, exactly. Whether it's buying new numbers or porting numbers, updating your existing numbers to maybe use a new feature. There's definitely, a lot going on, and it can get confusing if you don't have a good way to track it.
Yeah, and I think it also comes down a lot of times to who your provider is. So I always think back, Katie, it's amazing to us because, you work with companies every day who can buy hundreds of numbers. Excuse me, if they're in our inventory, they're available, you can order them and then you can immediately provision them. You can add the ability to send text messages through them. Sometimes that takes a little longer. But in general, like, just one example, we have a whole case study around a company who tried to get a new toll-free number. It took them months to be able to get a new number up and running, and then it was even harder to get it activated. We do, you could do that with Commio in one day, like half a
Yeah.
day, in an
Oh,
hour,
yeah.
minutes, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
It, so it's kind of amazing that I don't think a lot of people really understand the utility of numbers and the efficiencies that are available now for registering
Yeah.
them, right?
Yeah. You can do it all, like you said, in one day.
Hmm.
And that can be as simple as buying the number, enabling it for voice and messaging. If you want to do any kind of like CNAM or 911 features, those are there too. I mean, you can set it up and have it ready to go within a matter of minutes.
That's right. That's right. So, and that, by the way, as a lot of people know who are on the call, you can do that through a platform like Commio's platform, or through APIs, especially for companies that are doing it at sort of a much higher quantity level. They really need to be able to do it via APIs, which is kind of amazing to me what they're able to do with that.
Yeah. Yeah, the APIs, I mean, even ours, sometimes I'll be doing an interop or a kickoff call with a newer customer, and we'll be walking through the portal, and they're shocked to hear that everything I'm showing you in the portal is available via the API. So once you get it initially built out, you can do absolutely everything you can do in the portal.
That's right. That's right. And by the way, we'll definitely want to be able to show you guys the power of what we're able to bring to the table here at the end of our session. Then you'll be able to click through and it'll feel just like you're working with phone numbers and setting them up, and you'll get a taste for what it's like to be able to do a lot of this stuff in real time. So let's talk about buying numbers, Katie. So this is something where I think you and I have been around long enough at the company that, we've always had phone numbers available, but not today like we do in terms of the quantity, but also the ability to, get lots of additional numbers if you need them. And then all this
Yeah.
control is sort of new. So today, kind of, walk people through sort of the basics of how to get the numbers that they need.
Yeah. So, years ago, before we were Commio, we did not have our own inventory. So when you were buying numbers from us, we were sourcing those from other providers. Now we have our own Commio inventory. We have an absolutely huge footprint. We're constantly keeping those areas in stock for you guys. But there are certain areas, Canada, for example, that we don't cover on net. And so we still have the option available in the portal where you can buy those numbers. They're coming from, our partner backend network in Telequent, but you can order those same day as well and have them up and running. So the portal itself, you can search for things as specific as like NPA and XX. You can search for just a general state or a rate center. And you can do things through the API. Obviously, you can search a higher amount of results through the API. But aside from that, we also have our own backend tools where you can bulk orders numbers through us. So in the portal or via the API, you'll see it's kind of one search at a time. Let's say you had 100 different area codes and you needed X amount in each. We actually have built out a really quick, it's called our bulk ordering process, where you'll send us a list of what you need. We'll run that through our backend and we can get you those numbers back in a much quicker and easier process than you having to search, one NPA at a time.
Mm, very cool. Very cool. And what's great
Yeah,
about it is too, we know that it applies not only to domestic 10-digit codes, but also toll-free numbers are available.
right.
So it's yeah, same for both. So
Yep.
that's great. Love
It
to hear.
is. And aside from that too, one thing we don't often bring up, but we can help you find what you need specifically too. Even if it's not a bulk order, let's say it's I need this one phone number in this one specific tiny area, we can go get you that number or look for it at least. So
Mhm.
sometimes, people feel like the search options in the portal might be limiting. And it's built that way. It's built so that you can find what you need. But if you ever need help, you need something more specific or something in bulk, just let us know.
Yeah, and two things to follow up on that too. Obviously, we do have 100% US based support. So, like Katie said, if you reach out, you have a question, you can go right up through the support chain or to your account manager if you have one. But also, I love in the phone number ordering section, you can click on that back order button,
Yeah,
and you guys get receipts of that. And you're like, oh, I need 100 numbers in this NPA or NXX, and it comes back through the platform, and you guys can execute it like a short order cook and get those turned around too. Pretty
exactly.
cool.
Yep, you
Yeah, I
can
love
you
that.
can do it all right there from the portal. So if you search for something and something doesn't come back, that back order button will be right there.
Yeah, awesome. So porting. Now this is yeah, this is something I think a lot of people just had a painful reaction to that word. Porting can be painful. Sometimes ports don't work the first time through. But let's talk more about sort of, how can we make it easy to port those numbers?
Yeah, so one thing that's huge that you just alluded to is we have a full porting team. That's part of our customer success and support team. We have individual members that are day in and a day out focused on porting. So that doesn't, it not only benefits you guys because you have someone you can talk to and someone that's going to keep you updated, but this team is also super familiar with these processes. They see the typical rejections. Sometimes it's even a certain carrier is often going to reject things where other carriers may not. So they have that knowledge, they're familiar with it, and their goal is to help you avoid rejections. We want to get things ported over as smoothly as possible. And with as little time from time of submission to when it actually ports. So we have that full team. They will help you understand a rejection. Sometimes they come back and they're not super clear. They'll let you know what you need to do to fix it and help you get those numbers pushed across the finish line.
There you go. My favorite part is I've played a role in 1% of what you guys do, which is creating those emails that we use to update our customers about the porting
Yep.
process, which are fantastic. So you never wonder, hey, what's going on with my numbers? When are they going to go live? What's the status? You'll get those via email as well as, the updates through the portal. So
Yeah.
the idea is to make this easy, right, Katie? I don't know why so many providers, well, you already alluded to it. There's a couple providers that for some reason like to go out of their way to make it difficult to port numbers away from them. And
They do.
we're not one of them. We're just like numbers are what they are now. They're supposed to be movable, and
Exactly.
it shouldn't be so painful. So
No,
we,
no.
we we all know why they make it painful, right? But we won't say those things out loud. But
Right.
we believe it should be easy and simple and as instant as possible.
Exactly.
Yeah, and to talk about messaging. So again, when we, when I started here, we didn't do text messaging all those years ago. Now we do.
Right?
And now those numbers are valuable not just for voice calling, but also text messaging, right?
Yeah. Yep. So, it's a whole different ball game, different sets of rules, but we again try and make things as easy as possible. We want to give you full visibility into what's going on. We do that through the portal by giving you kind of updates, whether something's processing, pending, approved, all different statuses, but we'll also keep you updated if you do have like a ticket open, if there's something you're struggling with or have questions on. With messaging, obviously, any of the phone numbers that you buy from us, whether it's toll free or local, are capable for both voice and messaging. Same with toll free. You can also do what we call hosted messaging. That would be, you have a number with your current provider. Maybe you're using the voice capabilities there, but you want to use us for messaging. You can upload that number as a hosted number. So it will release the messaging to our network. We'll give you all those tools and allow you to do that through us without having to fully move that number. So it's similar to the porting process, but it's not as in depth. You're just moving kind of the one piece of the puzzle, which is the messaging.
Yeah, it's great. And on top of that too, obviously there's portions in our portal where it also built into our APIs now for, getting your toll-free numbers set up to handle messaging, as well
Yeah.
as your 10-digit long codes, your regular domestic phone numbers. So registering your brands and your campaigns makes it super easy. The whole messaging space, as you and I both know, we live it on the daily, has completely changed in the last 2.5 years. It's a lot more complicated, but it's not when you have the tools in front of you to do it the right way. And we've got those
Yeah,
waiting for you. Yeah,
we do.
there you
Yep.
go.
So, campaign registry, whether it's 10 DLC or getting your toll free numbers verified, we have
Right.
it built out in the portal and the API, and we're going to keep you updated as you submit those.
Yeah, I know a lot of people who are involved in messaging probably know right now there's a bit of a shakeup in the space between 10-digit long code and toll free. Now that Twilio's in charge of toll free, it's been a little bit more complicated and cumbersome to do toll free messaging. So people are moving back to 10 DLC, whereas they wanted toll free in the first place because 10 DLC was getting complicated. So, what you want to work with somebody like us who has a dedicated team that can help you understand, well, what are your goals for your messaging campaigns? Which types of numbers will work for you from a capacity, a throughput standpoint? But also, what's your time frame? Because, 2 months ago we would have said toll free is the way to go. Now we're saying it's 10-digit long code because of the Twilio issues, but
Right.
this is such a changeable environment. Like, it's not just as easy as flicking a switch and getting a dial tone. It is so different, right?
Right. Well,
So,
and one thing that I think sets us apart, at least when I'm talking to especially new customers that have come on board, um, our team has dedicated resources at those DCAs.
yes.
So we're talking to those teams weekly, if not daily. And we have those relationships where, it might be kind of a use case that doesn't exactly fit into the list that you have to choose from. We can go lean on our contacts, ask for advice or how we should submit it to avoid rejections and get things approved, which is huge.
Yeah. Yeah. That's important. Those relationships really do matter.
Yeah.
Yeah. And last but not least, I love I love to talk about this part, but I think most people who are on the call already are very familiar with outbound redundancy, right? And a lot of people come to work with us because we have 40 carriers en route and we have software tools where you can turn those carriers on and off. You can put in route blocks. But what's new is sort of this idea of inbound redundancy, right? Where you can move numbers, in local areas between
Yeah.
where the numbers are registered. So love to, talk a little bit more into disaster recovery with your
Yeah.
numbers being in the forefront.
Exactly. So, we've had this as a feature, and some people may not realize this, but we've had this as a feature for inbound toll free for quite some time. It was actually very unique to us.
Right.
Obviously, we are our own rest board, but when it comes to loading those numbers, we use 5 different carrier networks for exactly that reason. There is, of course, some cost savings there by us allowing you to do that. But if we have a carrier whose network goes down, or maybe it's part of their network goes down, maybe it's a smaller region, whatever that may be, we can immediately remove that carrier. You're not going to lose your voice capability because we have it built out on those additional providers, and we now have a very similar functionality in place for your local 10 DLC numbers.
Mhm.
A number can show that it's with Commio and it is on the Commio network, but we have multiple networks built out on the back end where if something or someone goes down, we can easily flip it over so that you're not having downtime. We're basically taking advantage of multiple networks to ensure if there's a problem with one, we've got another one we can fail over to.
Yeah, I think it's adhering to what we've said a lot over the years, which is as who we are in the ecosystem, we know that not every carrier is great all the time, everywhere,
Right.
So there's going to be a time where somebody picks up the phone and they can't get through to your call center here in Raleigh. So maybe in the 919-362 area, we need to change that number to a different provider to get around that outage. We can help you with that. As you said, we've been doing that with toll free forever for more than a
Yeah.
decade now, which is pretty exciting. So, as the marketer in me says, I'd like to say that, if you're with Commio, you can control your calls from dial to delivery. So we've got both sides, the in and the out.
Right.
So I think there's something there. But thanks for that, Katie. But also
Yeah.
E9, by the way, E9112. I mentioned a case study we did about somebody who just literally needed one toll-free number and the ordeal they had to go through to get that number for their contact center. It was the same thing was true for the New America Credit Union, that one of the reasons they went with us was
Yeah.
because they had such a hard time getting E911 set up for all the branches of their credit union. And we were like, really? Okay, we can help you with that. Um,
Yeah.
so when they set up the numbers and brought them over to us, they were able to very easily apply the right E911 information to their location. And then they were able to use a very simple tool to test that every month
Mm-hmm.
to make sure that the authorities could get to their branches. And again, you and I, Katie, were like, this should be easy. We've made it
Right.
easy. And why do so many other providers make it difficult? So it's exciting to know that we've got that locked in.
Yeah. And I mean, it is super easy. I could go by a number right now for, let's say, our office.
Right.
I could type in our office address, assign it to that number, and it is good to go. So it would take me less than a minute to get that set up on a very brand new number. And of course, same for existing numbers. It's build it out, assign it, and you're good to go.
There you go. There you go. Safety first, everybody. Safety first. So I mentioned earlier, Katie, wanted to let people know too that if you'd like to see this order numbering process in place, take a look at what it takes to, whitelist or get registered your toll-free numbers for messaging. Look at the campaign registry. It's all right here. If you just go to
Yeah.
commio.com/tour, take about 6 or 7 minutes and just click through. And by the end, what I love about this, Katie, is like people tell me like, oh, now I understand how easy your platform is because
Right.
I felt like I just set up a new account and it's like, and that was easy. And I'm like, exactly. So
It is.
it's super cool to have this now. So just commio.com/tour and it'll literally walk you through starting with, which I loved starting with, okay, let's take a look at the 40 carriers that Commio has and how can I
Right.
set up a route or set up, a routing profile and then how do I turn a carrier on and off and what does that mean? People just are like, it kind of blows their mind because I think there's so many
Yeah.
people out there that are used to having one carrier. When
Right.
that carrier has an issue, they have to file a support ticket and then they wait 2 or 3 days or 2 to 3 hours and they have no idea what happened. And we're like, let's just take all that away and
Yep.
give you tons of carriers, all the control, all the information, and make it super easy.
Exactly.
That's what gets me out of bed in the morning to show up. To be honest, like who doesn't like to help solve business
Right.
problems? That's what we do.
I know. Yep.
So
It's awesome.
yeah, so we really encourage you go to over to commio.com/tour, click through, and I think at the end you'll come away with some ideas of how you can put us to work for you. So with that, Katie, I know we had a couple, and by the way, everybody on the call now would love to answer any questions you might have for Katie about phone numbers, all the things we've already talked about. I got a couple questions here. The first one is, how long do those back orders take if we can't find what we need? I mentioned that earlier. So they go into the platform or even through the API, they can't find numbers. How long do those back orders take?
Yeah, so a lot of times we can get you that number same day.
Hmm.
So it's not always a guarantee, but there are plenty of cases where it might just be we're out of stock of a certain number or area, and or maybe you need something just really specific that we don't have available in the portal inventory. We can often go get those same day, have them loaded to your account, and it's good to go. Now, let's say it is maybe an area code that is low in stock across the industry, we may have to go to another provider who then may have to go to another provider to secure that. So those could take, several days up to a week. Same with, really specific, like I need a number, almost like a vanity number. If you need it to end in last four digits, that's kind of like, well, we'll try our best. It may not be available. But yeah, a lot of times the turnaround is same day on back orders.
Katie, you're on the inside here, so I'd love to know what do you see as are the most requested numbers that are the hardest to get? Is it toll-free numbers, a certain kind of toll-free number? Is it a location of a domestic number? What's the hottest markets right now?
That's a great question. There's areas like, for example, in toll free, obviously the true 800 numbers that
Oh
are
yeah.
just far and few. Nobody has those available anymore.
Got it.
And same with like, your local numbers, you have 212s, they're just not available.
Right.
So ones like that, we often have to explain that to people. We wish we could go get those, but we can't.
Yeah.
Um, Outside of that, though, there's really, it's so unique because we have customers all over with so many different use cases. What may be a hot topic and hot need for one customer could be totally different from somebody else just based on their location and their business need.
Yeah. Yeah, your thought about the 800 numbers makes sense because they've been around so long. It's just like getting a good .com domain name is
Yeah,
hard. They're all gone.
right.
Um,
Exactly.
and people are paying millions of dollars for three or four letter domains.
Right. Yeah, if you
Anyway,
want to pay for it, you can go get it.
no problem. That's why there's entire businesses built around vanity phone numbers, right?
Right. Yeah.
And sometimes we get a couple of those numbers and people come out of the woodwork like, "Oh, you have that number?" I'm like, "Yeah, I guess so." But
Right.
I get it. Okay. This is a great question is, it can, are all of your numbers able to have voice and messaging turned on, or is there any sort of limitation to any of the numbers?
Great question. Any of our numbers, and that is whether you purchase them or port them. If it's on our network, you can use it for both. You don't have to. You can use it just as a messaging number or just as a voice, but those capabilities are available for toll free, local DIDs, and as well as any numbers you port to us.
Got it. Got it. Oh, a great follow-up question too here from Chad. He said, I know sometimes it takes a while for the messaging campaigns to be registered, but can we still send some messages on them in the meantime while we're waiting, to do testing? Loaded
That's
question.
it.
We know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. Right.
Fun answer here.
Yeah.
Right now, you will not be able to send a successful outbound message unless the number is tied to an approved campaign.
Right.
That being said, I have told, especially, some of our customers that are new to messaging, they're testing things out. Maybe they've spent some time building out their API and they want to just make sure the messages are sending. You can certainly send it. It will hit us. It'll just be blocked.
Hmm.
So I do have a handful of testing customers. They're waiting on their campaign to get approved. They sent, one or two messages just to ensure they had the API built. But yeah, you'll need your approved campaign. And then once you assign that number, you can start sending it and it'll send successfully.
Yeah.
And with
Yeah.
the campaigns, it's not taking as long as it was a few months back. So we had this is a new customer in testing with us. They built a campaign out, I think, on Wednesday morning. It was approved this morning.
Wow.
So yeah, we can get
Okay.
quick turnarounds. Basically, if you see anything and if it's been sitting for a week, let us know because at this point, nothing should be taking that long to get approved.
That's good to know. That's good to know.
Yeah,
And you and I both know why they no longer allow us to send test traffic. Um,
right,
I'm just gonna not gonna say it. It's just look, we all need to plan into our business processes enough time for these things to work their way through now. Um,
yeah,
it's not the Wild West where people were putting ADP traffic down P2P rails and there was no registration required. No, you got to register now.
yeah,
We need to know where these messages are coming from. We understand it. It just slows things down just a little bit. Doesn't, it doesn't
right.
take that long as it used to. And the good use cases get approved really fast. So
Oh
if
yeah,
there's too many people on this ragged edge over here, we're trying to stay away from that ragged edge, where things get, can be blocked up. So,
right.
another question coming in, what's the difference between a back order and a bulk order?
Oh
Oh,
yeah, good
yeah.
question.
Okay, yeah.
They sound similar,
Yep.
and it is handled a little bit the same. So, um, both of those are going to start out with you searched for something in the portal and you maybe didn't find what you need, or you're searching in the portal and you're like, this is taking too long. I need to ask them to do this for me. So a back order would be something is not currently available in our inventory, whether that's one or two phone numbers in a specific area code, or maybe you need 1,000 numbers in a specific area code and we only have five available. A back order means we need to go get that inventory from somewhere. Bulk order, this is something we've created on the back end to hopefully help you guys when you have those larger orders. The way the portal and the API works, it only allows you to search for one set of criteria per search. So if I have 100 different area codes and I was using the API or the portal, I would just have to do 100 different searches. And with the API, that may not be that bad, but you can always come to us. The best way I recommend doing it is just put it in a spreadsheet. In column A, list out, these are my 100 different area codes I want. Column B, list out the amount you need in each. And maybe it's something like I just need 10 in each, or you might have, I need 100 in this one, I need five in this one, whatever it may be. On the back end, so back order, we can just run that through our tool and populate all of those results to get them loaded to your account.
Perfect. Perfect. Katie, I'll still say this. When I first came to work here, I remember the very first case study that I did was with a customer who was thrilled that on a weekend they had their local provider had an outage. They had over 150 numbers that were impacted. Uh, and we were able to switch them within a couple hours to another provider. And this was before we even said the words inbound redundancy out loud.
Right.
So we've had the capability manually or automagic, as I like to say, to help people with their numbers, making sure because I think of a phone number like a domain name, right? Like there's a DNS for
Mm-hmm.
for domain names. There's providers who own and route numbers. So it's kind of fun to know that and really expedient from a business perspective to know that you can work with somebody like Commio who can say your number can be redundant now, just like your outbound, and we can help keep those calls flowing. And
Exactly.
we've got those tools. So well, Katie, wow, we blew through 30 minutes. I was not expecting us to go that long, but there's always a lot to talk about with phone numbers. So
There is.
reminder to everybody on the call, right there at the bottom of your screen, if you have any questions about your numbers, you certainly reply to the email. We did record the session. I can get those questions over to Katie, get the answers to you. Or you can email support@commio.com. They can answer your questions as well. Whatever your phone number needs are, we're here to answer the questions and potentially work with you guys on getting those numbers, getting them properly ported, provisioned, get the routing up and running. We're here to help. So, Katie, I'll let you go. I know you're super busy. Thank you for your time.
Of
Um,
course.
it won't be the last time you're on here, I hope.
Oh,
Appreciate
yeah.
always appreciate your expertise and your help. And everybody on the call, like I said, you'll be getting a recording of this session here in the next couple hours. Feel free to reply and let's start a conversation or continue one if you're already a customer. So appreciate it.
Definitely.
Everybody,
Awesome.
thank you, Katie. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.